Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing things a little differently. I'm actually going to be discussing an upcoming project that I'm incredibly excited for. And that is the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, Final Fantasy is one of my all-time favourite series, so it seems right that my first discussion video is covering what I want from the final part of the remake project. So, without further ado, let's jump in. So we finally had some news. The director has broken silence on what we could look to expect from this part. Now, we've been teased a lot about the power that the Highwind will have in this, and obviously, the Highwind is a very important part of the original. So making this an important play, I think, is a no-brainer, really. And in Rebirth, you sort of saw a tease of this at the end, where you can kind of scale a lot of the region on the Highwind, and then you have the base game of Rebirth, where you're sort of split into little sections. Whereas what I want is full-on freedom from this next part, and I think by what we saw, they could achieve this. I want to be able to, scale across the whole map. Imagine how amazing that would be. I get chills just thinking about it, to be honest. Having that sort of freedom, and just being able to sort of pick up where you left off from the end of Rebirth. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Now, the challenge with this is that the game has been confirmed, for a multi-platform release. We're getting it on PlayStation and Xbox, and it looks to be coming to Switch 2 as well, maybe at a later date. Will the visuals stay consistent with this? I'm not entirely sure, but I hope it can, because I think what we've seen from the sort of ports of, say, the original remake to Switch 2, they definitely know what they're doing here. So I really think that this could keep the momentum up and really make a special sort of multi-platform amazing sort of thing. Speaking of amazing, the audio in the last two games has been outstanding. I love the voice acting, the music, I love all of it. So I really think that we've had sort of teasers, for example, that in the interview they mentioned about Rocket Town. Obviously, Rocket Town is a great location in the original, and what I really sort of want is, I want a modern orchestral version of Cid's theme. Cid's theme is so good in the original, and I think if you have that sort of gritty space race sort of aesthetic that the original sort of had, whilst also sort of bringing it to the modern audience, I think could be amazing. So I had a little rejig of obviously when stuff happens. So obviously there's a lot that happens in the original that hasn't happened yet, and obviously we've had they've taken bits and plotted it in where they want it. So I really think that they could really go whole hog with the audio. The voice acting is just amazing. The whole cast has brought a new life to these characters, which obviously we had a little bit in sort of, say, Advent Children, but the biggest standout for me audio wise, voice acting, has got to be my guy Barrett. My guy, the elevation that his character has had in this remake project is outstanding. The others, sort of, we've had quite a lot of, say, with Cloud, we've had a few different sort of things there, but Barrett and Aerith, they have been blown out the water with this. I honestly, I really look forward to some of the more emotional moments that are coming. Obviously, we had a lot of that in Rebirth. Let's hope that the next part does the same. So that leads on quite nicely to the next point of the story element. So obviously part 3 needs to sort of connect everything, and I mean everything up together. We've had a lot of bits teased here and there. We want a surefire conclusion, and so one of the biggest things is Wutai. Wutai obviously is a lot bigger in this than it ever was in the original. And the original was an optional area that you don't even need to go to. So we've seen obviously already that Wutai has been tied in a lot more, obviously with the compilation of, let's say, Crisis Core, the War, and then Rebirth and Remake sort of definitely built on that. So I'm very, very interested to sort of go to Wutai, obviously, and then you had the sort of the DLC of the original, which brought in Son on as well. So I really think that they're really going to go into Yuffie's character, which I think is great. I mean, she has been great throughout the project. Obviously, the DLC really sort of brought her into a new light, and then her in Rebirth is great as well. So I really think that sort of Wutai being this sort of main focus. I mean, we've had, they've stated that Wutai could sort of be like a hub almost. So that would be quite interesting to see what they do with that. Definitely, like taking it from being an optional area to a hub. That is a big change, and I'm here for it. It's going to be a proper main location, and obviously, we've had Yuffie sort of, fighting for her homeland, for the last sort of, last game, and then in the DLC as well. So Part 3 really needs to deliver that sort of emotional ending to that saga. Definitely, really, and I'm really here for that. And I think doing this sort of, Wutai sort of being, it's a very political thing in the game. So I really hope that it does pay off. Obviously, we had Remake and Rebirth. Remake is already out on Xbox and now on Switch too as well. Obviously, Rebirth is coming in June. So obviously you're going to have a whole audience that potentially, when this one comes out, is either very fresh or maybe them at all. So my wish for the story is that it respects the original, but obviously gives us a sort of a conclusive ending to the sort of multiverse bits that they have set up, the whispers and the plot points of like alternate realities. I liked where they went with it in Rebirth, so I think if we can get it to stick that landing in regards to that and have some really emotional moments with it, I think it could be a winner. What I found the most interesting about the chat that the director stated is that he said that they don't want all 3 installments feeling the same, a reskinning of essentially the same game, which I think is really good. So they want to bring it fresh whilst also keeping the games cohesive, which I think is a really, really good point. So what I want is, we know that Queen's Blood is returning in some form, potentially a powered up little version, and that was one of the standout mini games of Rebirth. So more Queen's Blood is a win in my book. I loved that, so give me more Queen's Blood. And I loved the sort of the underlining lore that they put there, so let's hope that they kind of continue with that. And sort of the combat is also going to evolve as well. Obviously, we've got Cid and Vincent, who I assume are going to be playable. So you can have this full roster of characters just to sort of have fun with, really. And I think they're probably going to do what they did in Rebirth. Have sections where you sort of play as separate characters. Like a group of characters, which I think was really good to sort of make you play as everybody, not just stick to the same formula and really find out what makes characters work and what doesn't, which I think was a really good idea. So adding Cid and Vincent to this mix, obviously we've seen sort of, little tidbits of maybe, but not, fully fledged. So I think they are going to be full on, and obviously speaking of Cid and Vincent, especially Vincent, obviously a lot of the lore that comes with him from the compilation, I do feel like we are going to get more of that. They've also hinted that Chocobos are going to be sort of different this time. Obviously in Rebirth, you had a Chocobo exclusive to each region, which allowed you to do more traversal bits around the map. I think we're going to have a Chocobo breeding sort of menu, sort of finding, you found the hidden material across the world that the Highwind can't find, so then you've got to go via Chocobo, which is obviously kind of draws back to the old school games and the way they do it. I think that would be quite fun to sort of make you. So what Rebirth did incredibly well was made you want to explore the world. So if you're having the Highwind and being able to soar above the world, you need a reason to go down there. And I think that could be one of the reasons. Rebirth really did a really good job of making you want to explore. So I think to keep that up, they could be on to a near perfect experience of their game. So that is my sort of what I am interested in, what I want from Final Fantasy Remake Part 3. What do I think it's going to be called? I have absolutely no idea. The only guess I had was Reunion, but Crisis Core is called that. So if I'm honest, no idea. I don't know. If it's Reunion, copyright, take that. You heard it here first. But I have no idea. Genuinely no idea. So I think it's going to be a fun experience. Finishing this series, this project. The other two have been great. Making the whole experience a masterpiece would be extremely tough, but I think they can do it. If Square Enix can deliver on the scale that we've seen previously, and adding in sort of the Highwind and the emotional weight, and stick the landing, I think this could be, if not the perfect game. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and hit the subscribe button and the like button if you have enjoyed this video, and stay tuned in regards to more discussions, more reviews, anything gaming. You know where to get your news, the TH Verdict. Let's keep that going. But until next time, keep on keeping on.